Hooray! It's World Cup week. It's the beautiful game, the great working class escape, and one of the purest expressions of community identity, a game deeply rooted in British culture and society, and one of our most enduring gifts to the world. The World Cup has always been the greatest celebration of that, nations coming together in patriotism and sport to see who's the best at kicking a bit of leather about. Of course, it's so much more than that. It's always been amazing, a cause for celebration, and it's always meant everything to us. Every 4 years, it used to capture our attention and passion for the best part of a month or so, and it's done that for nearly 100 years. But is it just me, or is this the most underwhelming summer tournament since the last time that the Americans hosted it? Is anyone genuinely excited for the Mexico, Canada, USA, North American World Cup? The biggest one ever, at least on paper. Why is it that many of us just aren't bothered by it in the slightest this year? Why does it feel just a bit off? Well, I think we should talk about it. Here we are then, it's the 8th of June 2026, 3 days out from the opening ceremony and the first game in Mexico City of World Cup 2026. And if, like me, you've been watching the headlines recently, you'll have noticed something quite remarkable, actually something that would have been unthinkable 4 years ago, and that simply is that no one seems to care about this World Cup whatsoever. And I'm jumping on this Newsweek article to start us off. World Cup host cities face flop as hotels struggling, tickets unsold. Less than a month until kickoff, and some host cities for the World Cup are facing a potential flop as hotels are struggling to shift rooms and thousands of tickets remain unsold. Remember, we're 3 days away from kickoff. The tournament is set to be the largest ever stage, taking place in 16 host cities across North America and featuring 48 teams in 104 matches. And I've just read that FIFA have reportedly cancelled a bunch of their own room reservations, which raises eyebrows all on its own, doesn't it? It's quite clear that the World Cup just hasn't captured the world's imagination. And this is the kind of indifference that I think we all expected to come from within the states themselves. After all, football or soccer, it isn't a big deal over there. It's still a growth sport. It's not the dominant sport like it is in virtually the rest of the world. And the numbers kind of bear that out as well. I found this quite interesting YouGov poll, which I'll link in the description below, which covers what Americans think about the 2026 World Cup, given that they're a host nation, given that they've got the final in New Jersey. How many of them are genuinely interested in the competition? Well, we can look at not at all interested. That's alone on its own 54%. So a clear indication that most people in the States aren't really bothered. And then when we add in that not very interested and not sure, that takes us to pretty much 70% of people that just don't care about the contest, but probably the sport in general. They probably don't care about football. And so what about the rest of us? What about the rest of us in the world who do really care about football? Why are we not interested in this World Cup, in this tournament? Well, I think one of the most explicit reasons is probably the cost of it. It's an incredibly expensive World Cup to attend. I've just had a little look on the StubHub World Cup final tickets page. And granted, this is the final, so you expect it to be expensive, but the cheapest you can buy right now is $9,134 each. That's a ridiculous amount of money to sit up in the gods. So if you wanted to go and sit, closer to the action, you're looking at, 20 odd grand to sit behind the goals. And then to sit on the flanks, you've got 51 grand. I think I saw, one for $73,753. That's just not going to happen for most people, is it? Who can afford that kind of money? And then you add on the cost of, plane fares and accommodation and food and that kind of thing. It's just not going to happen, is it? And for those of us watching from the comfort of our armchairs, you look at the kickoff times and they're just all over the place. You've got, 8 p.m. for the first game, 3 a.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m., 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 p.m., midnight, 5 p.m., 5 a.m. It's all over the place. Ultimately, it's their time zone. They can't do anything about that. But as a result, the games feel just really far away, and it's difficult to get excited about something that does seem so far away. But not only that, something you have to set your alarm clock in order to enjoy. It just feels like a job of work at the end of the day. Ultimately, this is an incredibly strange decision from FIFA to host the Cup itself across North America. It seems entirely financially driven And this doesn't feel like a genuine celebration of the sport that we all love. And I'm not slagging off America in the slightest. I really like America. I really love American culture, the movies, you know, the music and pop culture, but also the sheer unhinged ambition that you all seem to have. It's something that's completely foreign to us in Great Britain and most of Europe, to be fair. But the point I'm trying to make is that really this commercialism, this globalization of sport, even the Americanization of the World Cup is just part of the problem. And quite a big part, don't get me wrong, but only a part of the problem. Speaking solely to the British indifference towards the World Cup, I think it's rooted in our national game. I think it's rooted in the decline of club football. Because football was built upon many things, but mostly it owes its popularity to custodianship. It's something that football fans understand intrinsically. It's the notion that we as fans, or the chairman or the board or the players even, are simply bit part players in the continuation of the sport and in the history of the club. We're there to literally pick up the mantle from our fathers, who picked it up from theirs, to maintain the sport, the integrity of it all, and preserve the club as best as possible, and then pass it on to subsequent generations. Because clubs used to represent geography. They used to really represent the towns and cities that they were founded in. Hence why you had, you know, West Ham United or Grimsby Town, or the greatest team the world's ever seen, Plymouth Argyle. Our clubs are deeply rooted at a very personal level to the communities they were raised in. Hence why football fans are so venomous to each other. It's tribalism manifested at the end of the day. So when club football went global, some time ago now, it created a real disconnect between those generational fans, the people that have been there for literally generations, and the club itself, as teams, particularly those in the Premier League, seem to position themselves towards tourism more and more as they cast the net of monetization wider and wider, farming out the badge and the colours and the shirts, but also the tradition and the history for purely financial gain. And that clearly had a knock-on effect to the importance of the game and the integrity of the game at the club level. And that itself had a knock-on effect to the national team. As people felt less represented by their clubs, they then subsequently felt less represented and disconnected from their national team. But also, on top of that, and I say this as someone that absolutely loves football, I've watched football my entire life, the game has just become really boring to watch. Every team playing the same high press, in the same shape, in the same formation, the tactics thrown together by data analysts to maintain as much possession as possible and increase expected goals. Okay, fair enough. I suppose you could make an argument for that. But then you throw in things like VAR and all the nonsense that surrounds the game. It's just boring. It's so boring. And to optimize sport in this way on purely scientific terms has just neutered and watered down something that was a real spectacle, something that was based on talent, and pretty much talent alone. And where talent wouldn't do it, maybe passion would take you over the line. But long gone are the days of personalities, of individual moments of brilliance and skill, the wonder goals that we all tried to replicate the next day on the playground. This sterile, over-scientific, neutered and watered down game is not what we all fell in love with. It's not what our dads and their dads fell in love with. It's certainly not this.
And here comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.
That sentence has literally been said a million times, and it's never lost impact for me. When I think about, you know, what it represents, a moment in this country's history, a country that's always divided by region, politics, even temperament, and yet for 90 minutes plus a little bit more extra time, it was together. And Euro 96 was kind of like that. I think it was probably the last real time it was like that, although some people might talk about the London Olympics. But it certainly was the first time I felt anything that approached that. And I felt actually incredibly lucky to have lived through it and experienced it, even though I was really young at the time. See, this is the moment for me when it all came together. That's it right there. This is literally the moment when it all clicked for me. I got it all. I got everything. The history, the tradition, the lure of this country and the game. It all came together in one beautiful moment. I felt a part of something that was greater than me. And it was amazing. We all rose together and we all fell together. And I don't remember the last time I felt like that. But what's worse is I genuinely don't think that we could do this again. this kind of thing. I genuinely don't think that we could come together like that again. After all, we're more connected, albeit digitally, than we've ever been. But for some reason, we just can't seem to experience anything together. We just can't seem to be in each other's company anymore. We live in a world of individual timelines and individual feeds and individual outrage. And it's almost like we're born to hate one another these days. We're certainly pitted against one another at every turn. And it's crazy. It just doesn't seem to benefit us. It doesn't seem to benefit people. And yet we still do it. And so with that in mind, what is really being offered to us on Thursday? It's a tournament held in a collection of countries, but only one of them truly cares about the sport, which is supposed to be on showcase. And the other two are either indifferent or don't care about it in the slightest. The tickets are so expensive that you've got attorney generals of 2 US states investigating FIFA for misleading fans. There's going to be a halftime show at the final designed to look like the Super Bowl. The ultimate loser in all this, of course, is me and you, is the football fan. You know, that custodian who wants to preserve the beautiful game as much as possible and pass it on. That custodianship is being stripped away once again, purely for the financial gain of others. And it's such a dreadful shame because the World Cup used to mean everything. It really did. It used to be something that the majority of us looked forward to and wanted to take part in. And so that's why the World Cup feels so meh, to be honest. And that's why there's such disregard for it, I'm sure, because like so many other things in life, it's been changed. It's been bastardized and repurposed away from the people who built it and from the people who love it the most. Like so many other pure things in life and so many other great things in life, it's been changed. And the current custodians have been absolutely abandoned once again by the institutions that seek profit over cohesion. And the ultimate result is that the experience is cheapened. And I think that's worth saying out loud. Thank you very much for watching that one. I hope you took something away from it. If you did, please do consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing. And I will try to get some lights on next time and see you in the next one.